Let us begin. Talk about Lincoln Riley's salary bump, which just happened mere hours ago. Follow the folks, Garen Emick, Eric Bailey, of course me, and Brandon Drum for this about that. But check it out. Garen Emick actually did the math on this, and it seems that Lincoln Riley is getting a salary bump that's going to put him at about $6.9 million annually over the next 5 years, with 2019 being paid $6 million, 2020 being paid $6.15 million, 2021 $7.3 million, 2022 $7.45 million, and 2023 $7.6 million, right? So for those folks that want to know how this puts in perspective, if you look at the 2018 salaries based on USA Today's awesome coaching salaries database, you can see that coach pay, school pay, that will make him 5th nationally, just in front of Gus Malzahn, who raked in $6.7 million last year for making the Music City Bowl. And we can go down the list. Alabama, of course, Nick Saban makes 8.3 and change. Ohio State, Urban Meyer, who just left, so that's, doesn't make this anymore, but 7.6 and change. Jim Harbaugh, who can't beat Ohio State to save his life, 7.5 and change. And then Jimbo Fisher, 7.5. And then, of course, Lincoln Riley would slot in there. I assume Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, those guys, they might get a raise. We'll see how that goes. Dabo Swinney has been very good at keeping his assistants happy, and he's not so interested in the money so much as he's interested in keeping his staff together, which leads me to the next part of this that we'll get into. But for the folks tripping over Lincoln Riley getting paid basically $7 million annually over the next 5 years, I submit to you Mike Gundy got paid $5 million last year to not make the college football playoff and to not make the Big 12 title game, let alone win the Big 12 championship. And when we're talking about winning, Big 12 titles, Lincoln Riley's been a head coach twice, or for 2 years, excuse me. He's won twice, all right? 4 straight Big 12 championships at Oklahoma, 2 straight college football playoff appearances, have made 3 out of the first 5 college football playoffs, and we continue to see him put guys like Baker Mayfield, #1 overall in the draft, won back-to-back Heisman trophies, first coach in history to do that with quarterbacks, and you're talking about offenses that continue to break records. And at his age, what I also think that's interesting about this is the NFL must have wanted Lincoln Riley in the worst way. Because if you look at what has been going on across the NFL with the Sean McVeigh effect, to the point of it getting comical, to which Arizona Cardinals hire Cliff Kingsbury, and in the press release at the bottom they say he's friends with Sean McVeigh, right? We've seen Sean McVeigh dudes get head coaching jobs all across this league over the last month, really. And Sean McVeigh had the quote of the century when he says, "I'm too young to have a coaching tree." And yet, we're looking at all these guys that have worked with him, have been on his staff, get these jobs because they want to be the next Los Angeles Rams. In a time and day where I'm not sold on an offensive guy needing to be your head coach, but if you're going to pick a head coach, Lincoln Riley, you could do a lot worse. So maybe they were looking to pay him closer to $7-8 million to be an NFL head coach, and he was able to bring that back to the OU athletic department and Joe C and say, look, I want to stay at Oklahoma, but don't treat me like I'm not worth what I'm worth, to which Joe C anteed up. And this is also cool because Jim Gallagher, who was president at OU, is obviously a football guy. And that is going to help Lincoln Riley in recruiting. That's going to help him keep together his staff, which leads us into this bit about what the assistants are being made. We all are of one mind when we say Bill Beaton needed a raise, right? And his raise basically makes him the 3rd highest offensive line coach in football. He goes from, I think, $650,000. Let me check this. He goes from $625,000 to $750,000 through January 2021 is when he's extended. Bill Beaton's getting paid what he's worth, and that's what you want. That dude is essential to Oklahoma because what Lincoln Riley can't do or hasn't done is coach offensive line, right? We know we can do with quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, whatnot. That dude needs Bill Beaton. Obviously, Bill Beaton is happy to be at Oklahoma as offensive line coach and co-coordinator, and he's getting his money's worth. And the 2 new assistants, or 3 new assistants, we'll get to Alex Grinch in a second here, but I'm talking about Brian Odom and Roy Manning. Those guys come in at $375,000 through 2020 for Brian Odom and $425,000 through 2021 for Roy Manning. And of course, Alex Grinch becomes the first coordinator not named Lincoln Riley to get paid north of $1 million in base salary. $1.4 million is what he is going to make, and his contract is through 2022. I got my own take on the whole Alex Grinch thing, but I think all of these guys got the money that they're worth and what they should be paid. Notably, Lincoln Riley, but also Bill Beaton, and we're going to see if Alex Grinch is worth the $1.4 million. I know there's a lot riding on him being the right guy to steer this defense in the right direction. As my buddy Steve had said, look, if they get to number 38 in total defense or nationally ranked as in defensive efficiency, you're going to be very happy with what Alex Grinch was able to do in 2019. So salaries, I think we're pretty good. I think we're okay there. Again, I think that Joe C. and the athletic department are signaling to the rest of college football, we're not going to be cheap about guys that make the college football playoff and win Big 12 championships. We're not going to be cheap about guys that get top 5 recruiting classes like this 2019 group is turning out to be. We're not going to be cheap and say that, hey, we'll just rebuild. No, because that's not what you can afford to do in college football today. You have to sign the guys that you have when they're winning you championships. And winning Big 12 championships is part of what you do at Oklahoma now, but making the college football playoff is still not necessarily a given. And keeping this staff together, especially when you've got Jalen Hurts coming through the door and you got these 5-star wide receivers and you got all of these starters returning on defense, you want to have a staff in place that knows what to do with this and can get you right back to where you want to be, which is in a playoff spot.